on the ice for the Peter Coyotes. Have you got any kind of update at all? I know you don't like to take yourself into headlines and everything like that, but now it's been
no, it hasn't been quite that long. But we're still working on it, and our hope is that we can bring it to a conclusion in the not too distant future.
Yeah. Is there like something coming off the back burner moving?
Nothing imminent, but it's still being worked on. It's still a work in progress, and there's no significant development.
Surely the public will be wearing much.
We think we're doing the right thing. We've had tremendous support by the city of Glendale, and it's a complicated process, and it's one we're going to continue to pursue. Well, the goal is to bring it to a conclusion. If in fact we don't have an alternative, we'll deal with it, but we're not at that point.
Obviously,
well, and in part because we've had great support from the city of Glendale, who has a large investment in the arena and indirectly in the team. And as a result, we're trying to do our share to make it work with them.
Now, is the tap going to dry up Glendale after this year? Or
no, we haven't had that discussion.
Okay.
If I were speculating, that would be my guess.
Yeah.
And at some point, we can't get it resolved for next season. And obviously, I think we'll have to consider our alternatives. But that's not good news.
Gary, is realignment just tabled for now? Is that something that will be picked up with the union either after the season or in the near future or so? Or?
I think it's the most significant thing I can say about that is the governors overwhelmingly were in support of the plan. It's something we thought as a league was the right thing to do for our fans, for the team, for the game. But we made the decision based on the position the union was taking to try not to be confrontational right now. But ultimately our goal will be to implement the will of the board.
What did you find were the union's biggest concerns?
You know what, I don't want to characterize what their biggest concerns may or may not have been. You'll have to discuss it with them. We think it was a perfectly sensible and reasonable plan. But the union obviously didn't agree, and as I said, we just didn't think this was a sensible time to be confrontational, so we said we won't implement it now.
Have you given any sense with them about when they want to start collective bargaining? I mean, it's got to start soon, doesn't it?
Well, Don Fear has repeatedly said that he wouldn't be ready until after All-Star.
Right?
Well, okay, but he said we wouldn't be ready before All-Star. But my guess is at some point in the next few weeks we'll probably sit down, assuming the union's comfortable doing that. There's a pretty steep learning curve in terms of the business and from the union standpoint, what the players are focused on, and we've been respectful of that process. So whenever they're ready, we're ready. We've been ready.
With the All-Star game coming up, has Anaheim ever formally presented a bid for a future All-Star game, and is that something that could be a possibility, in the future? I know 13 is up, and then you've got, maybe 2015 or whichever.
I'm drawing a little bit of a blank as to whether or not, to answer your question, they've ever applied for any All-Star game.
Mm-hmm.
Somewhere in the back of my head, I think they have at some point. I could see having an All-Star game out here. This is obviously a desirable part of the country for people to travel to. There are lots and lots of hotels and facilities within shouting distance of this arena, and my guess is at the right time, if the club wants it and it makes sense in terms of our schedule of events, that's something that we would be prepared to consider seriously.
Yeah, I asked that since obviously the Ducks haven't specifically had one, but obviously in LA it was in 02, but I think it was 02.
We had one in 02 in LA.
Yeah.
Southern California is obviously ripe, and we've had a draft out here. Yeah. So I mean, there's no question that this club in this area can host a major event. Maybe not an outdoor game, but one of the other. And that's nothing against the area. It's just the weather, I don't think, would be conducive.
What is the status of the outdoor game? Are you close to making an announcement?
Well, Well, we're working on the possibilities. If we were forced to make any announcement, we'd make it.
No, there's no deal.
We're not in a position to make any announcements right now. If we get ourselves, and when we get ourselves into that position, we'll hold a press conference. I think we're probably on a better timetable than we've been in prior years.
Okay.
So I don't think the announcement will hold over summer. The things that we're working on are closer than we've been at this point. But you got to remember, last year we were a little bit delayed because we had 3 major events in 6 weeks. We had the 2 outdoor games and we had the All-Star game. We really weren't in a position to focus on it. But with All-Star coming up in a couple of weeks, I think we'll be able to find it.
With a heritage sponsor coming up, any Canadian teams involved?
Listen, every club is interested in being involved in some way, either hosting or participating. The event has taken on phenomenal proportions, for a regular season game, and it's great to see. It's a lot of fun. If you've never been to one, I recommend it to you because the experience is wild. I mean, you just see people absolutely thrilled to be there. There's a buzz, there's an excitement, and it's a lot of fun to watch the players react to playing in that environment.
There's an NBA team that, if you listen to their owners, they seem to have an intention of perhaps moving to this facility as early as next year. Is that something that maybe having 2 teams in this building go contrary to what the NHL would prefer?
No, it's not an NHL preference issue. It's really up to the owner of this building as to whether or not it makes sense. And, I don't react to rumors. I'm not sure how much substance there is to that story. But in the final analysis, it would be for the team and the landlord to see if they can reach an accommodation.
We talked about earlier about the CBA, and this isn't the first rodeo you've been around. I think you've been in the position for about 18 years now. What happened last time, about 6 years ago? What did you take away from that you can kind of avoid that this year? Sure you learned some lessons.
I'm not sure it's about learning lessons, because the lesson that everybody knows, and it's not one you have to learn, is that you want to not have work stoppers. They're not fun. They're counterproductive. But if you're in a situation as we were, where there were fundamental problems that had to be addressed, you got to address the problems, because you can't live with a dysfunctional system. And so, it's not that we learned anything. It was we did what we had to do at the time. And obviously, if you look back over the last 6.5 seasons, the league is in a stronger position than it was when we started collective bargaining on that agreement.
Do you see a need then to completely rewrite this, or will it be enough to tinker?
I am not going to discuss collective bargaining. The fact is, anything that we have to say about collective bargaining, the system, the agreement, we'll do it with the Players Association quietly.
Tell me if it's working for enough teams.
I don't even want to get into that.
Okay.
The fact is, we're having another terrific season. This will be another record-breaking season for us, both in terms of revenues and attendance. I don't see any reason for anybody to be distracted by collective bargaining. Certainly not now.